Stop making these common mistakes. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 things that are common mistakes that people make when they begin their homeschool journey that makes their life more challenging and that can cause more overwhelm and confusion. And I'm going to share what you can do instead. So let's get started. Mistake number 1, thinking you have to have it all together before you can get started. This can go for multiple areas of your homeschooling. It could be that you feel like you have to have every curriculum figured out, everything here in your lap, nothing is on its way being shipped before you can get started. This is not true. You can actually get started now. And oftentimes, it's actually better if you sort of tier your school year, especially if it's your first one or even your first couple of ones, and start with just a little bit of curriculum at a time, adding in more and more as you go. Also along those lines, thinking that you have to have all of your curriculum picked. You can just start with the basics, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Start with those and then add on the spelling and the grammar and maybe the electives and the other things as you get more comfortable and you get used to what works well for you and your family. Also be aware of this when it comes to the planning trap. That's what I affectionately call the desire or the drive to make sure that you have everything planned out perfect, that you've created the perfect schedule, that you have lesson planned out your week, your month, your year, your 6 weeks, however long that you like to plan out things. Thinking that you have to have that perfect plan in place before you can start is something that will catch you every single time. Yes. Do plans help things to run smoother? Does having everything together and having a place for everything make your life easier? Absolutely, and I would work towards that. But there is always going to be a point where life catches up with you and you are not able to start the week with the plan that you had hoped for. It is better to show up consistently and build that muscle memory for you and for your kids that this is the expectation of school and of the day, even if it doesn't look exactly the same every single day. And the same is true with delaying school. Maybe you are not worried about the planning aspect, but maybe you're like, Johnny has a little bit of sniffles today, or man, we had a rough night last night, so I don't think we're gonna worry about homeschooling today. I do think it's actually better, again, to just show up. You can shorten your days significantly. That is fine. I personally like to have bare minimums that I do in my homeschool that I know even on the hardest days, we're gonna get to Bible reading of math every single day, but that can look different. It can be your actual curriculum for that day, or if it's been a rough day, simply do maybe an activity related to that. You're gonna watch some YouTube videos reviewing different concepts in math that your child is struggling in. Or maybe you're gonna play a board game that helps them work on different reading skills. It doesn't always have to be your original homeschool plan if the day is running rough, but it can be just showing up and making sure that you are doing some school most days. Consistency and being present is key. Life is unpredictable and there will be days you just have to wing it, and that is okay. But speaking of how good it is to have a plan and to prep and to pray, this video is done in collaboration with my friend Wendy over at Plan Prep Pray. If you haven't checked out her channel, you definitely should. She's all things homeschooling and home management, about being productive and making the most of your time and being a good steward of what God's given you. She is also sharing 3 totally different mistakes that new homeschooling families make that you'll want to check out after this video is over. Mistake number 2 is definitely relying on the opinions of others too much. Yes, we were created to be in community. Yes, we need connection and support. But oftentimes what can happen, especially when it comes to curriculum, is that when you're overwhelmed by all the choices and the offers and the options, you quickly just default to that best friend from high school that you haven't talked to in years who says that she likes to use XYZ curriculum. And so therefore, you just choose the easy button and go that route. This can lead to a lot of frustration and buyer's remorse when we just take the word of a friend. Even if they're a closer friend or a family member, they don't have you and your unique children involved in the process. So it is good to take a few things into consideration. 3 questions that you can ask yourself is, does this fit my family's budget? Don't buy things outside of your budget. Does this fit the time that I have to spend? If you're a mom that's on the go, that's barely pulling things together as is, maybe don't start off the initial time with a really high intensive curriculum. Maybe choose something that has more opportunity for your child to be more independent or has a lot more flexibility in it. And 3, does it excite you as a teacher? Now, typically, I would say you need to consider your child's, learning preferences or how they learn best. But the fact is, if you've never homeschooled before, you're probably not going to know how your child learns best. So start out with something you're excited about, because if you're excited, your kids will get excited. And as you go throughout the process, you will learn what works for them and what doesn't, and will be able to adapt and adjust in future semesters or years. The second area where I see this relying on the opinions of others too much coming into play is when it comes to your homeschool state laws. Do not just take someone else's word for what your state laws are. Do your own research. I recommend checking out HSLDA.org and looking up your particular state to see what the requirements are, as well as even just Googling what are the state requirements for my state. Make sure you have firsthand information to avoid any possible misunderstandings or non-compliance. And finally, when we listen too much to the opinion of others, we can start incorporating things into our homeschool day that don't really fit what our desire or our goals are. If you listen to other homeschool moms too much and you hear many of them are talking about having a morning basket or a morning menu, you might force that into your family even though it doesn't really fit your specific desires or your specific goals for your family. So have community, listen to input, listen to wise counsel and learn from others, but just don't take what someone says as a prescription for your own homeschool. The third mistake is definitely feeling like you have to make decisions that affect your homeschool long term instead of just looking at this year. We don't have to worry about curriculum commitment. We're not marrying this curriculum. We're just trying it out for size. It's okay to choose something that seems to fit your need or fit your budget right now and to adapt and make changes as you go, because the only way to learn a lot of this information about what works best for you and your family is trial and error. And even once you figure out what works best for you and your family, times change. Your kids will get older. Your circumstances and situations will evolve. So just be willing to be flexible with it. I've heard of homeschoolers that feel like they have to pick a curriculum on day one for kindergarten that they can use all the way through 12th grade. If that's what works best for you and your family, great, but don't make such a commitment that you can never change. It'll just leave you feeling trapped instead of feeling equipped to do what God's called you to do. That same thing goes for learning styles. You'll hear a lot of people tell you got to figure out, are you a Charlotte Mason homeschooler or a classical homeschooler? Are you an unschooler? It's great to look at those things, and it can help a lot narrowing down the process when it comes to curriculum. But if you get so set that this is the kind of homeschooler I am and don't ever allow yourself to look outside that box or be eclectic like most homeschoolers end up doing, picking and choosing the best of each thing for them and their family, you're going to find yourself frustrated. Embrace this learning process. It is just as much about the growth of the teacher as it is of the student, and you will learn more by making mistakes. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to homeschooling, so stop looking for it. Trust your instincts, be flexible, and enjoy the ride. If you want to see other mistakes that homeschoolers make, even ones that have been around for a long time, be sure to check out this video.